Hey guys, welcome back to another snapshot video. Let's check out what we got in the 5th experimental snapshot of 1.18. This snapshot was mostly about changes to the world generation once again, but it's also an important change to most spawning we have to talk about. But let's check out the world generation changes first. I think the absolute highlight are the new peak biomes. So here we got a snow-capped peak biome, and they're just, yeah, a lot more impressive to look at, I would say. Especially if standing down in the valley, this is like a proper mountain now. So no longer an extreme hill or something like that. It's like a real proper mountain now. You also will have issues navigating up here, while previously, yeah, the peaks looked pretty much like this one here. So they would still generate mostly in this shape. Those peaks are an exception, but yeah, it's definitely really spectacular. So there's not a clear path upwards anymore. You probably have to either bring ladders or just fly up with an elytra to get to the real peak of this. And I think the highest blocks that I found here also generate at Y255. I think this is the limit. River biomes were also tweaked again. So here we got an example of one. I'm gonna look for another one later. Just found this one interesting because it was in a hilly area. And it kind of looks like a lake actually. So the depths of the rivers was decreased a little bit, but if you check it out, you can go still quite low. So there's blocks, there's the bottom of the river at Y34. So you can go really deep still. Yeah, I was just thinking, this almost looks a lake. Wouldn't it be nice to have proper lake biomes in the game as well? I think this would actually be quite fitting in some areas. Anyway, let's actually check out another river. Here's the second river biome that I have found. This one is quite majestic once again. So the width of this river is incredible. But if you actually take a look around, it's not really connected properly. This more looks like a giant lake. Not that I actually dislike it, it's just interesting. Here's another river biome that resembles an actual river a little bit better, but it also has issues carving through the terrain again. So here's a dry spot, and here we got one of those lakes again. Here it actually connects to a cave, pretty nice. But it seems like the rivers again have issues carving through the terrain and a lot of dry spots. As the name says, those are experimental snapshots, so changes to the world gen could have unintended side effects. Here we got something that I noticed again and again while just flying around for a couple minutes in the snapshot world. There's a lot of open caves, like this one here that doesn't really have a ceiling. So a really good example from the surface level. You can see the whole cave, even a mine shaft here on the side. Quite interesting, but I'm not entirely sure if this is intended. According to the patch notes, a lot of tweaking has been done to the swamp biome as well. So what I mostly noticed when flying around was that there's a lot of areas now in the swamp where the water goes a lot deeper than what we're used to from a previous swamp biome generation. If we follow this, it even extends to the caves below. Some of the caves below swamps are now filled with water. Here we got another example. Is it actually that all the caves are filled with water? Almost seems like it. Yeah, seems like all the caves below swamp biomes are now filled with water. Just quite far down even. Okay, that's interesting. Definitely bad news for the tunnel bore. Also, another thing that I noticed while flying around is that the dripstone caves got pretty crazy. Not used to this kind of dripstone generation. Here's another good example of a dripstone cave biome that I found. Can't really remember them being this large in previous snapshots. I might have missed it, but that's definitely something that I really noticed in this one. The dripstone caves are quite extreme. Even if we go lower, maybe this was just a really large example that I found here, but it's kind of crazy. Good news for all the jungle edge biome lovers, it was re-added to the game, but in a different shape. So as the name says, the jungle edge biome was generated on the edge of jungle biomes. Was basically a transition biome between, for example, plains and then normal jungle. So the jungle edge biome looks like this mostly. Jungle trees that are further spread apart than usual. No 2x2 jungle trees. And now it's actually an independent biome. So here we got it between a desert biome and a badlands biome. I think this is actually fitting pretty well. Let's actually go over here. It's the still jungle edge. Yeah. So it's basically complete independent biome. I think it's actually quite interesting. So after a bit of flying around, I found a better example of some nice river generation. So this is actually what I'd like to see. Here we got a river nicely carving a canyon through a badlands biome. I think this, yeah, is a proper river biome generation. That's how I like to see it. Water springs, so those single sources of water, can also generate in blocks other than stone, so dirt or snow. Examples where this could happen now. So if we got a good example, got a single water source generating here, creating a little mountain stream of water flowing down, or it could also be described as a waterfall. According to patch notes, not entirely sure if I like this feature too much, because I mean it just doesn't look right to me. So that's not what I think a waterfall looks like. Just, yeah, I think the water physics in Minecraft are not really made for this. I think of a waterfall, of course, like the Horseshoe Falls, Niagara Falls. That's something I would actually like to see in a game. I'm not entirely sure if we need more of this. We got one more important topic to talk about. The changes to the mob spawning algorithm that were introduced in experimental snapshot number 3 were partially reverted. So what stays in a game was the change that was pretty much approved by everyone I talked to, the introduction of individual mob caps. So in case you want to know more about this, you can check out my video about the experimental snapshot number 3. So this stays in the game. But what got reverted was the mob spawning dependent on height. So we're back to the old system, which in tests that were done also performed a lot better. So the old system is also superior when it comes to lag caused by mob spawning. So that's good news for everyone. And as I said in the previous video, for casual players, pretty much nothing changes between the old and the new system. In case you're interested in building mob farms, you can still build them up high in the sky. As before with the old system, nobody needs to make a perimeter for the fission mob farm. But with the old system, it's possible to make super fast mob farms in case you spend a lot of effort. So there's some end game content that it seems like wasn't lost, so that's the good news. Since there was a bit of confusion judging from the comments on the last video about this topic, I just want to re-emphasize this once again. So nobody needs to make a perimeter to make an efficient mob farm, regardless if you have the old or the new mob spawning algorithm. So you can still make a farm high up in the sky that would yield you enough drops with the new and the old mob spawning algorithm. Perimeters were just a vanity projects some servers did to make super compact and fast mob farms, but this is not something that is required to get enough items to play the game. So on the Cycroft Blitz server, we also showed that we didn't actually need any perimeter to get more than enough. And with the new individual mob caps, everybody playing on a server will also now be guaranteed to get enough mob drops from a farm that is built up high in the sky, regardless if you would have the old and the new mob spawning algorithm. Alright, so that's all for today. Thanks guys for watching and see you next time. Bye bye.